Welcome back to Cooking with Dad. So, got a nice meal prepared, or that we're going to prepare today. I've done some prep work. We're probably going to try to really cut down on the video time. So today we're going to be preparing smoked baby back ribs, corn on the cob, and mashed potatoes. So I've done some prep work here. I've taken these are baby back ribs. I've taken full racks. I've taken them out of their vacuum sealed packaging. I've rinsed them off, and one of the things I wanted to talk about with this was the membrane on the back of the ribs. Okay, so all the ribs come with a membrane here on the back side. This must be removed. This is not optional for me. I know some people cook with it, some people don't care. I'm telling you, it makes a difference on how tender your ribs seem, how well or how easily they can be eaten and taken off the bone, that type of thing. This membrane has to be removed. And I'm not going to act like some cooking shows or cooking videos and tell you that it's something that's simple and easy. It is kind of difficult. It can be kind of tricky. You just got to get like a spoon or a little knife. You flip the ribs over and you just start down here and you just find a little section. Like you can see a little section like down in here. And you just start kind of cutting away from it. Flip the spoon over where it's upside down and get under those. And then once you get it started, it'll just all peel off. And you will see when you peel that off, like that backing, that is not getting cooked down. It's not easily chewed. It really affects the ribs and the quality of the ribs. If you ever heard of things like people talk about like piano strings or bow and arrows strings being made with catgut, that's what that is. It's intestines and those things inside that really don't cook down very well. And on the back side of these ribs, when you pull that off, you'll see, you can imagine that you could stretch that out and dry it out, and it would be something that you could use as a piano string or a bow and arrow string. So it's really, really tough part of the cut of the ribs, and it really needs to be removed. So we've removed the backing on all three of these. We've used our same rub that we used on our pork shoulder. If you watch that video, it's just brown sugar, chili powder, onion powder, garlic powder, and of course my Old Bay that I like to put in there. That's all it is. These have been setting out for probably about 25 minutes or so. I like to get the meats kind of up to room temperature before we put them on. We've got them rubbed down, kind of getting some of that stuff. You can see some of the liquid from the ribs is starting to mix with the rub, and it's almost becoming like a little bit of a wet sauce on there. That's perfect. We want to see that as well. And then the other thing is, we're going to be making these in our Orion smoker cooker that we used in a previous video as well, so I won't have to cover much of that. But we are going to use a different thing, and that's the hangers. We're going to use rib hangers. So I'll be back in a minute, and we'll be putting them on the smoker. Okay, we're out at the Orion smoker cooker. We've covered this extensively in another video. If you want to know why I like the Orion, how it works, why it works, any of those things, you can watch the video in which I did pork shoulder. So we won't cover that. But what we will cover, and we talked a little bit about in that video, was rib hangers. So we've got our charcoal going and everything. You can see some smoke rolling out of the middle there. So we're ready to put on our ribs. What we're going to be using here, again, is a rib hanger. So rib hanger, it just goes in a little slot right here, and it just stays there and it holds the rib. So you take these ribs, you go a couple ribs down, you make a cut in the center, you put the hanger through there, and then you're just going to hang the rib. Got our drip pan in there. We've got apple wood chips around the side. We're going to smoke this with apple wood chips, and that's it, guys. You get your rib, put a hanger through it, hang it. The smoker cooker, the Orion, as I talked before, is so efficient and so good. You can cook things too long. You have to be careful, or otherwise this becomes so tender that the ribs actually fall off of the hangers. We don't want that. And actually, we're going to pull these just a little bit early, and we'll talk about why here in a little bit. So other than that, we're 3 racks of ribs on, charcoal and chips in there. We're good to go. hour and 45 minutes maybe, be good to go. Next, we'll check out some of our sides. Okay, so we're back inside. We're gonna start looking at our corn on the cob and mashed potatoes. If you're watching a video on cooking, I'm sure you've probably done corn on the cob and mashed potatoes, so I'm not gonna go into too many of the details. However, I do have a couple things that I wanna mention that I disagree with some folks on. So I can tell you that I do not know how many conversations my wife and I have had disagreeing with how much water to put in the pot for pasta and potatoes. I'm telling you, use more water than you think you need. If you're doing a pound of spaghetti, you need at least a gallon of water in your pot, okay? And I'm doing the same thing with potatoes. So I'm cooking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay, about a dozen potatoes. This is a 2.5 gallon pot. I've got every bit of 1.5 gallons in it. Yes, it's gonna take a little bit more time for the water to boil, but once it boils, everything is gonna cook faster. There's more water, there's more room for everything to get around it, more surface area is being affected by the hot water. It's just better when you're cooking it to have more water than you think you need. So again, about 1 gallon. So when we're actually peeling the potato, we've rinsed these off, they've dried. When we're peeling it, I like to use a peeler. I'm sure there's old school folks out there that use a paring knife, and I don't disparage that at all. Use what works for you. But for me, I just like to use an actual regular peeler, and then I just peel the potatoes off. You can do it in the curly-Q fashion if you want. You know, you can spin it all the way around here. You can take it off in sections, really doesn't matter. Oh, dropped one. And then just have a knife handy. Get it twice. Have a knife handy, again, got about 1.5 gallons of water in here. Just gonna cut through this. Cut this into a couple different sections here. Ooh, knife is not sharp enough. About to hurt me. And you can do this in advance. You've got 1.5 gallons water. I'm not saying to do it the night before or anything, but certainly I'm probably at least an hour away from pulling those ribs off and ready to get the mashed potatoes going and getting this water going. But as long as the potatoes are submerged in the water, you can do this in advance and you're fine. Okay, we're back outside. Our smoker is going. Wanted to talk a little bit about, well, this is one of the best times for any of you that may be meat smoking or cooking connoisseurs. When you get all your prep done and you get them on, you got a couple hours to sit around, enjoy adult beverage. However, some of you may be saying, well, what if I don't have a smoker or a cooker or a grill? Can I still make good baby back ribs? My answer to that is damn skippy. What you'll want to do is take the rub, okay? Get your ribs, remove the membrane, take the rub it down, and then you're simply just gonna wrap it in aluminum foil, and do not wrap it tight. We want some air movement in there, and then we're also gonna wanna add a little bit of liquid. So take like maybe a quarter cup, half cup of apple juice, apple cider vinegar, both, mix them together, put a teaspoon of liquid smoke in there if you want. Put that in there. The one thing you're not going to get away from with ribs, though, is low and slow. You're still going to have to cook these for a while. You're going to need to set them at about 275. Let them go for 3 to 4 hours, however tender you want them. And again, remove that membrane and they will get tender more quickly. And then there's another finishing touch right at the end that you can do with those ribs, and we're going to do with our ribs, that we'll cover here in just a few minutes. Okay, so our ribs are right at about the hour 45-minute mark. Right at about 2 to 2 hours and 15 minutes in the Orion should have them well done. So what we've went ahead and done, we've lit the gas grill. If you have a gas grill, charcoal grill, doesn't matter. Get a grill, get it good and hot, okay? I have everything on high right now and I have it lit. I'm gonna leave it on high until I get over here with my ribs, and I'm starting to do a couple other things. We'll cover that then. What I've also done is I've taken a small saucepan, I've filled it with barbecue sauce, and I've placed it in here. Obviously, make sure you're not doing this with a plastic handle or something. This is an all metal saucepan. You can also notice that I have turned the handle to the back of the grill. Believe me, you will forget and grab that handle if you don't do that. So we're getting this heated up. We don't want to put cold barbecue sauce on our ribs. Several reasons. We don't want to cool it down. It's continuing to cook. We don't want it to take more time to heat up the barbecue sauce. So we're going to get the barbecue sauce heated up. We're going to get our grill heated up, and we're going to pull our ribs off. Speaking of which, they should be just about done. We're going to take a look here. Haven't taken a look yet. We'll see what they look like. Should be pretty close. And they in fact are close. You can see where the meat has pulled away from the bone in a couple of these sections. It's telling you that this meat has started to shrink. It's cooked. It's definitely getting tender. These are right about where we need them to be. So just a couple minutes. I'm gonna pull those off, put them on a cookie sheet, transfer them over to the grill, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we've transferred our ribs over to the gas grill. We've turned this down to a medium. You can see our barbecue sauce is up, starting to stick to the sides of this pan. Means it's warmed up, it's good to go, and our ribs are looking freaking awesome. But we wanna put a good, sweet, sticky, crispy, salty, delicious bark on these. And that's one thing that the Orion and your oven will not do. So we're gonna do that on the gas grill. And we're just gonna slather these with barbecue sauce. We're gonna flip them over, slather the other side with barbecue sauce. And then we're gonna give each side a little bit of time to let that fire and that heat get them a little bit burnt, maybe a couple black spots on it, even a little burnt. Let them get this barbecue sauce, this sweet, we've got all this brown sugar and everything, tomatoes in this barbecue sauce. So it will burn easily. So we can't let this just set here on its own. But we want to get a little bit of that burn, a little bit of that crust. So when we flip them over, when we get them to where they're about done, we'll come back and let you see finished product. And there you have them, 3 racks of ribs. I'm not joking, I had to be a little bit careful because they started falling apart. I mean, some of these bones, you can just pull them out. We got them ready. You can tell we started to get that barbecue sauce a little bit thick when it was on the grill, and it started to boil a little bit. And then we put them on here, and the heat hit it, and it burned it a little bit, and it got hot. And you can just see that it's just thick and sticky and perfect. We're gonna take these, we're gonna wrap them in tin foil, put them in an oven that's off. Don't turn the oven on, just wrap them in tin foil over this whole pan, put them in the oven for a couple minutes while we finish up on our sides, and we'll show you guys a plate. Okay, mashed potatoes and corn on the cob. We're gonna cover these real quick. Again, I'm assuming all of you have made this at some point in time, so I don't have a lot probably that's very, not much to say that you're gonna learn anything, okay? The only thing I'll tell you is I am going to use an electric mixer. I will use the manual potato masher sometimes, especially if I'm in a hurry or I'm running a little bit late and I have to pull the potatoes a little bit early. When I do that, you gotta use a little bit more elbow grease, but you have a little bit more control over hitting all of those little lumps in there, and there will be more lumps when it's not as done. But that's not the case today, so we're gonna use an electric mixer. I'm gonna put in 1 stick of butter, and yes, I said butter. I did not say margarine, I did not say solidified vegetable oil or anything else you wanna use. I'm using butter. I'm not gonna act like I know how much of this I actually put in, but I will tell you that I'm using half and half. I like something a little bit more hearty than 2% or even vitamin D. So there's a pint here. I just put in about half of that, so that's probably a cup. We're gonna go ahead and put in some salt. I'll probably have some disagreement from you guys about this, but I am not a fan of this philosophy of, well, let them season it how they want to season it. Well, they're not the cook. I am. If they don't like my mashed potatoes, that's okay, but I am going to season them how I think they need to be seasoned, and you should too. We're gonna mix these up and then we'll come right back and we'll get our corn on the cob. Okay, corn on the cob. Probably gonna get some disagreement from some of you on my opinions of this as well. So corn is just like any other fruit or vegetable. You can just grab an ear of corn and eat it. It doesn't need cooked. It's okay. But we like it warm. And some anthropologists think we like our food warm because as cavemen, when we would kill something, we knew there was predators in the area. We couldn't carry it. We couldn't take it other places, so we ate it right then. What temperature was that? Warm. Now, I'm not going to die on that hill. Anybody can have their opinion of why we like warm food, but that's one theory. So, with the corn, I'm going to tell you that just about every time I have corn on the cob somewhere at a barbecue or a cookout or whatever, everybody overcooks it, in my opinion. You do not need to boil this corn for minutes on end. Put it in boiling water and it's done. It just needs to be warm enough to be comfortable to eat, okay? And I've lost the roof of my mouth multiple times on overly hot corn on the cob. So this is what I do. I have a pan here and it's set up, boiling water. Now, I'll also say, when it comes to corn on the cob and the ways to cook corn on the cob, I've done it all. I've done the soak it in the husk overnight and then put it on the grill, or peel it off the husk and cook it on the grill, or put it in charcoal, hot charcoal, while it's still in the husk so it steams and cooks, or any of these things. Put it in salt water, put it in sugar water, put it in tap water. I've done all these things and I've come back to one way that I prefer to make corn on the cob, and that's boiling water. So we have boiled approximately 1.5 gallons of water. We have a baker's dozen, and this is how we are going to cook our corn on the cob. Water is boiling. We are turning that off. We are putting our corn on the cob in here. Boiling water. Don't know if we'll get all these in. Maybe not. And no, we'll leave that one out. We'll put that in when we remove it. Okay, last thing with the ribs, we're just gonna cut them. I'm gonna use a rockin' chopper. You can use a cleaver, you could use a chef knife, you could even use a bread knife. It's really not gonna be that difficult. I have them flipped over on the membrane side just so we can see the separation of the bones more easily and slide the knife in between. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're sliding the knife in between these ribs, just cutting through them. Shouldn't be much left there in terms of, cartilage and anything that's very, very hard to cut through. Now you're gonna get a little bit more the higher you come up on this, just because it's getting meatier. But really, as you can see, there's really not much to it. Slides right through, and we're ready to plate up. Back in 1 minute for the end. All right, we're back. We're ready to, what I would call, plate up. I'm gonna get 4 rib bones, put them on our plate, a little dollop of mashed potatoes, and a conveniently already buttered piece of corn on the cob. Add a little bit of pepper and salt to the corn on the cob. I prefer to have pepper and salt on my corn on the cob. And there you have it. Baby back ribs, smoked, mashed potatoes, corn on the cob. Nothing more American than that meal. I love when you get a little bit of barbecue sauce in the mashed potatoes. That's the best part. Thanks for watching Cooking with Dad. See you again some other time.